The Chinese economy has been driven primarily by exports, with private consumption playing a relatively modest role in the economy. In 2011, consumer expenditure accounted for only a third of the Chinese economy, and by comparison, private consumption in the USA accounted for 70% of the US economy. More recently, consumer confidence in China has been relatively weak due to the rising costs of living, rising fuel prices, due to weak domestic economy, as well as relatively weak global economic recovery. So all these factors combined means that the Chinese consumers have not been exactly splashing out on non-essential items. Consumer goods companies wanting to reach Chinese consumers will notice several characteristics of the Chinese consumers. Firstly, Chinese consumers are becoming more urban. In fact, in 2011, for the first time, the number of people living in cities in China outnumbered the number of villagers. Urbanization clearly changed the consumption patterns with more discretionary spending. So you'll see the rise in consumer spending on items such as entertainment and communications. Secondly, the Chinese consumer is getting richer very fast. Between 2006 and 2011, per capita disposable income in China has risen by nearly 60% to reach $2,900 US. Of particular importance is the rise of a sizable middle class. However, there is a widening gap between the rich and the poor, and this income inequality has restricted the purchasing power of some segments of the consumer market. Thirdly, they are spending more on non-essential items. The share of discretionary spending in total consumer expenditure in 2011 was 64%, and this is forecast to rise to 71% by 2020. And fourthly, Chinese consumers are becoming older. Already, China has got the largest number of elderly people in the world, and the number of people aged 65 and over in China is forecast to rise from around 130 million at the moment to 221 million by 2020, and this is clearly a very sizable segment of the consumer market that consumer goods companies should not ignore.